She was just a typical American teenager, bright, energetic, full of plans and dreams. But all of that came crashing down in an instant. For 9 long months, Abigail Hernandez lived a nightmare so dark, so suffocating, it would haunt her forever. And it all began with a simple mistake: trusting the wrong person. Every parent tries to prepare their child for the dangers of the world. They offer warnings. Don't talk to strangers. Never follow someone you don't know. And under no circumstances should you ever get into a stranger's car. These warnings might seem dramatic at the time, but they exist for a reason. The story of Abigail Hernandez is a chilling reminder of why those conversations matter. Abigail, known to her loved ones simply as Abby, was just 14 when her life changed forever. A kind and trusting heart led her straight into the hands of a predator. She thought she was accepting a helpful ride. Instead, she ended up trapped in the lair of a man whose cruelty would shock the world. Born on October 12, 1998, in Manchester, New Hampshire, Abigail Maria Hernandez was the youngest daughter of Ruben and Xenia Hernandez. Her early years were filled with love and laughter, growing up alongside her older sister Sarah. The family was stable and close-knit. Her mother worked as a nurse at the local hospital, while her father was employed as a sales agent. They lived a comfortable life, modest but happy. But that stability didn't last. When Abby was in middle school, her parents decided to separate. Her father eventually remarried and started a new family, while Abby and Sarah remained with their mother. Ruben still provided financial support, but the emotional bond with his daughters began to fade. Over time, their relationship was reduced to the occasional birthday message or holiday greeting. Despite the upheaval, Abby remained spirited and full of life. From an early age, she had a thirst for experience. She was the kind of child who was always trying something new, whether it was sports, photography, reading, or studying foreign languages. She took on hobbies with excitement and a genuine curiosity about the world. Around the age of 12, she joined a local outdoor club and began going on frequent hiking and camping trips. Abby quickly developed impressive survival skills, learning how to handle herself in the wilderness. It's not hard to understand why. New Hampshire is a haven for nature lovers. With its dense forests, towering mountains, and winding rivers, it's a playground for anyone drawn to the outdoors. For Abby, it was her escape. Her classmates described her as bright, outgoing, and fearless, someone who could strike up a conversation with anyone about anything. She was warm, full of energy, and always planning her next adventure. By the summer of 2013, Abby's life seemed full of promise. She was excited about returning to school that fall and had plenty of stories to share from her action-packed vacation. She'd recently started dating a boy named Jimmy, a classmate who was a year older. Her mother, Xenia, knew about the relationship and was supportive. Jimmy seemed like a kind, respectful young man, and Abby was smitten. Then everything changed. On October 9th, 2013, just a few days shy of her 15th birthday, Abigail left school like it was any other day. With fall break approaching, she was planning a hiking trip with her outdoor club. She had even received a new pair of hiking boots as an early birthday gift and decided to wear them to school to break them in. That afternoon, she told her mom she'd take a walk through the park on her way home, but promised she wouldn't be late. But 5 p.m. came and went, and Abby still hadn't arrived. Xenia tried calling her, but Abby's phone was off. At first, she wasn't overly alarmed. Maybe Abby was with friends, and her phone had died. But as the hours ticked by with no word, panic began to set in. Xenia called Abby's friends, her teachers, anyone who might know where she was. No one had seen her. The school confirmed that Abby had left as soon as classes ended. She'd said goodbye to her friends at the bus stop, where they boarded the school bus. Abby chose to walk home instead. But after that, she simply vanished. None of her friends had spoken to her, Even Jimmy hadn't heard from her, though they had plans to meet later that day. By nightfall, Xenia and Sarah rushed to the police to report Abigail missing. Given her age, the authorities wasted no time launching a search. The last known signal from her cell phone had pinged just a mile from their home. News of her disappearance spread quickly. Flyers were printed and posted across the city. Local media aired her photo and urged anyone with information to come forward. Within 24 hours, hundreds of people were involved in the search. Police officers, volunteers, friends, and concerned citizens. They scoured woods, parks, alleys, and abandoned buildings. Divers checked local lakes and rivers. Detectives interviewed friends, teachers, and family members. But it was like Abby had disappeared without a trace. The first person they looked at closely was Jimmy. As her boyfriend, he was naturally one of the earliest suspects. Detectives questioned him about their relationship, about any recent fights or problems. But Jimmy was visibly shaken by her disappearance and seemed completely confused by the suspicion. His alibi was airtight. He'd spent the day at school, followed by sports practice, then band rehearsals, and finally his grandfather's birthday party. All of it was confirmed by multiple people. Despite his full cooperation, the investigation stalled. Days turned into weeks, and then months. No leads, no sightings, nothing. Then, just over a month after she went missing, something strange happened. Xenia found a letter in the mailbox. It was from Abby. In her own handwriting, Abby wrote that she was safe. She said she was healthy, that she loved her mom and sister, and asked for forgiveness for what she'd done. But she couldn't say where she was. At the end of the note, she wrote the cryptic phrase, "Dreams come true." The letter was dated early November. For the first time, investigators had reason to believe Abby was still alive. But the message raised more questions than answers. Why couldn't she say where she was? Was she writing freely? Or was someone forcing her to say those words? Speculation swirled. Had Abby run away voluntarily? Was she pregnant, afraid to face the judgment of her family and friends? Some theorized she had left with someone she trusted and now felt trapped. But her family rejected those ideas outright. Her sister Sarah insisted that if Abby had been pregnant, she would have told her. They were incredibly close. Best friends. There were no secrets between them. Abby's friends backed this up, especially her best friend Miranda. According to them, Abby had only ever dated Jimmy. She had never even hinted at having another romantic interest, and Jimmy himself had told police their relationship was still innocent. They hadn't been intimate. And then there was the glaring fact that none of Abby's belongings were missing. Her ID, money, personal keepsakes, everything was still at home. Nothing suggested she had planned to leave. Authorities analyzed the letter with precision, looking for clues, coded messages, anything. But there was nothing. Still, the letter was enough for the FBI to get involved. They quickly reclassified the case as an abduction, theorizing that Abby had been forced to write it. She was likely being held against her will. And they were right. The truth was even more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. The kidnapper and his victim were only a few dozen miles from the Hernandez home. Even more chilling, police had visited the kidnapper's house multiple times during the investigation. But somehow, they never discovered Abby was inside. Meanwhile, inside those walls, the man holding her captive was unraveling. He was growing paranoid, scared, and desperate, unsure how long he could keep his horrifying secret hidden. She didn't realize that this moment of frustration would become the turning point in Abigail Hernandez's nightmare. Lorraine's tip-off triggered serious attention. This time, the police weren't just showing up to confiscate a weapon. They had suspicions of a counterfeit money operation and were ready to dig deeper. Days later, officers arrived at Kibby's trailer armed with a new search warrant. This time, they were far more thorough. The trailer, the surrounding property, and, crucially, the shipping container were all inspected. It didn't take long before they found evidence of the counterfeit bills. And then something they didn't expect. As officers approached the small rusted shipping container in the back of the property, they noticed reinforced locks, soundproof insulation, and bizarre modifications. One officer remarked that it looked more like a prison cell than a storage unit. When they forced the door open, what they discovered stunned them. Inside was Abigail Hernandez, thin, pale, disoriented, but very much alive. She had been held captive for 9 grueling months. News of Abby's rescue spread like wildfire. For nearly a year, the community had feared the worst. Her face had been plastered on posters, billboards, and news broadcasts. Candlelight vigils had been held. Parents in the area had kept their children close, haunted by the mystery of her vanishing. And now, against all odds, she was back. A live Abby was immediately rushed to the hospital and placed under medical care. She was malnourished, emotionally traumatized, and hadn't seen sunlight in weeks. Her mother, Xenia Hernandez, was overcome with emotion. She'd never given up hope, but had braced herself for the worst. Seeing her daughter again, hugging her, holding her, was something she had stopped allowing herself to dream about. On July 28, 2014, Nathaniel Kibbe was arrested and charged with kidnapping. At first, he appeared calm, even smug. But as charges mounted, including multiple counts of sexual assault, criminal threatening, use of a firearm during a felony, and production of counterfeit currency, his demeanor changed. The evidence against him was overwhelming. The court ordered a mental evaluation, but Kibbe was ultimately found competent to stand trial. He was held without bail and placed in protective custody due to the severity of his crimes and the nature of public outrage. Investigators dug deep into Kibbe's past and were horrified by the extent of his criminal behavior. They discovered journals he had written during Abby's captivity, filled with disturbing fantasies, detailed rules for how she should behave, and threats of punishment for disobedience. He had documented nearly everything: his twisted version of control, the punishments he inflicted, and even what he called privileges. When Abby complied with his demands, his counterfeit operation was equally elaborate. Police found printers, ink, special paper, and stacks of fake bills hidden throughout his trailer. But none of it compared to the horrors found inside the container: zip ties, stun guns, duct tape, surveillance cameras, and a bed bolted to the floor. It was clear Kibbe had built a prison with the intention of holding someone long-term. Despite the trauma she had endured, Abby displayed incredible strength. She agreed to testify against her captor if needed, though prosecutors ultimately reached a plea deal to spare her from reliving the ordeal in court. During a closed courtroom statement, Abby addressed Kibbe directly. Her voice didn't shake. She told him that despite everything he did to break her, she had survived, that she would reclaim her life, that he had not won. In July 2016, Nathaniel Kibbe pled guilty to all charges. The judge sentenced him to 45 to 90 years in prison, effectively ensuring he would never walk free again. The courtroom erupted in emotion: relief, anger, tears, but most of all, triumph. Justice had finally been served. Returning to normal life was far from easy. Abby had missed her 15th birthday, Christmas, school dances, and almost an entire year of high school. But she didn't let that stop her. She re-enrolled in school, worked with therapists, and surrounded herself with supportive friends and family. Publicly, Abby remained private about much of what happened. But in rare interviews, she expressed gratitude for the overwhelming support she received. She acknowledged the pain and darkness, but refused to let it define her. One moment that stood out in the aftermath was her appearance on national television. Calm, composed, and poised, she told millions of viewers, "I'm not just a victim, I'm a survivor, and I choose to keep moving forward." Abby's case left a permanent mark on Conway, New Hampshire. Parents became more cautious, schools implemented new safety protocols, community watch programs grew in numbers, but there was also a renewed sense of unity. People realized the importance of being alert, speaking up, and never ignoring red flags. Many residents admitted feeling guilt that Kibbe had lived in their community for years without raising significant alarm. Some recalled thinking he was weird or off, but never dangerous. The failure to take his previous actions seriously, a failed kidnapping, illegal gun possession, harboring a minor, was a hard pill to swallow. The story of Abigail Hernandez is not just a tale of horror and survival. It's a wake-up call. It shows how dangerous individuals can slip through the cracks when warning signs are ignored. It highlights how the justice system, in some cases, fails to intervene early enough. And most importantly, it's a reminder of the incredible strength a person can possess, even in the darkest of moments. Had it not been for a single counterfeit bill and a woman's angry phone call, Abby might have remained hidden in that container for much longer. Or worse. It's chilling to think how close law enforcement came without realizing what was happening just a few feet away. Years later, Abby has become an advocate for missing children and survivors of abuse. She's worked with nonprofits, spoken at private events, and continues to share her story when she feels ready. She's also used her experience to push for legislative changes in how missing person cases are handled and how trauma victims are supported. Her bravery inspired countless others who've faced trauma, reminding them that healing is possible and that they are not alone. Abigail Hernandez's story is one of unimaginable pain, but also of overwhelming resilience. She endured what most of us can't even fathom. She survived captivity, isolation, manipulation, and abuse, but she didn't let it define her. She rose from the shadows, faced her monster, and emerged not as a victim, but as a fighter. Nathaniel Kibbe thought he had control. He thought he had silenced her. But in the end, Abby's voice became louder than his cruelty. And today, her story continues to echo, not as a cautionary tale, but as a testament to the human spirit's unbreakable strength. If you found this story as powerful as we did, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on more incredible stories like this. We're here, bringing you powerful, life-changing content every week. Join the community, and together, we'll continue to share stories that matter.